Hello everybody, I'm Frightopia, and welcome back to Tier 4 of the Video Games Myths and Urban Legends Iceberg. And yes, I know what you're thinking. It's been a while. A lot's changed, and I have a lot to talk about, but I'm not going to put that at the beginning of the intro. I'm going to wait till the outro. So if you're interested in hearing, like, what's happened and what's the future of the channel is going to be like, just stick around to the end, I guess. If not, you could just leave at the end of the video, I guess. I don't know. And anyways, just for continuity's sake, this video was recorded, I think, exactly 4 months ago on September 1st, and it's now January 1st when I'm finishing up editing, and I'm recording this right here. So if I look a little different and my room looks, well, it's going to be a different angle, but if my room looks a little different, that's why. So yeah. But yeah, this iceberg was created by Silent Chatterbox 52 and Midnight on the Iceberg's website. So yeah, I'll leave a link to the iceberg in the description. And if you are new to this series, I'd give the other videos a watch. Just, I don't know, because. Anyways, I'm just gonna keep this intro short. So once again, I'm Frightopia, and let's get into the video. Chunky Kong Assist Trophy. So this entry is yet another hoax surrounding the Super Smash Bros. Franchise, most notably the Wii U and 3DS games specifically for this. During the 2014 E3 convention, they let people play the demo of the game, so obviously people were leaking stuff that was in the game. So one of the leaks was assist trophies. If you don't know what assist trophies are in Smash Bros, it's these little items that you could pick up that gets an NPC type character that's not usually a playable character to join your team and fight for you for a brief amount of time. One of the assist trophies was reported to be Chunky Kong, one of the 5 playable characters from Donkey Kong 64, and his whole spiel was he could like slam the ground. Oh man, I hit the mic there. But yeah, he would slam the ground and bananas would fall and deal damage to people. So people were excited, you know, like he was kind of one of the more underappreciated He's one of the more underappreciated Donkey Kong characters, so people were like, yeah, let's show him some love. Well, many of the other assist trophies that were rumored from this E3 thing, they actually had video confirmation and screenshots and stuff. Chunky Kong never did. And when the game was released, to nobody's surprise, he wasn't in it either. I actually kind of like the origin of this hoax, though. The person who created the hoax in the first place said that he created the hoax so that if he saw somebody making a leak with a bunch of other characters and Chunky Kong in it, he would know that leak was a fake because Chunky Kong's not in the game. He knew that for a fact. So he was like, if Chunky Kong's in this leak, the rest of the characters most likely won't be. Which, yeah, you gotta respect his game. Dream Daddy cult ending. Dream Daddy, a dad dating simulator, is a visual novel romance 2017 game in which you play as a dad who meets and tries to get some loving from other dads, some dad on dad action. This entry refers to a cut non-canon ending to the third date with a character named Joseph called Escape from Margarita Zone, or most commonly the cult ending. In common visual novel fashion, a lot of these authors are fans of the horror genre. However, they didn't really see a place where they can fit a horror type element, so they created this ending kind of just for fun. So yeah, the whole reason it was cut is because it was kind of messy, and they were like, it doesn't really fit, but you know, we had fun doing it, and they just kind of left it in the files. So it was found eventually because a lot of people, big gamers and stuff, they like going through files of stuff. I've never done this, and they found this level and they thought it was an Easter egg, and rumors started to spread online about it. So they actually added it back into the game as an Easter egg, which is pretty cool. And I will put like the instructions on how to actually reach this ending if you are interested in actually play the game. But yeah, I'm going to give you a short plot summary. After the main character sleeps with Joseph during the third and final date, he wakes up chained in an underground dungeon. Joseph enters in a priest outfit and explains that the reason everyone in town is a single father is because their spouses have been sacrificed to some powerful being, and him and his bloodline have been doing this act for years. The main character is then knocked out by Joseph, and then he wakes up when Mary, who is Joseph's wife, frees him. The main character then runs through corridors until they reach their house and reunite with their daughter, Amanda, and everything just seems normal for some reason. However, the main character reaches for their word jumble, which is strangely instead a crossword. So he asks his daughter her birthday, which causes her to change into a demon. The main character then runs and returns to the dungeon and fights Joseph with a knife, which is taken away by Joseph. Joseph stabs him in the shoulder as he blacks out, but Mary and the children intervene and corner Joseph. The main character then wakes up at home, and Amanda explains that the yacht that he was on with Joseph sunk as investigators realize that Joseph has been embezzling funds from his church, and Joseph has also disappeared. While the investigator, Saul, talks to the main character and Mary, she says that Joseph simply disappeared when she knows that's not true. Saul then talks to the main character, explaining that his wife disappeared too, which most likely means that the cult most likely got her and he doesn't know about the cult, and asks to meet up again, hinting towards a future relationship with Saul. Scripulous Fingore. This is yet another internet hoax created by Twitter user Cut Video Games. In this Twitter post, he detailed a supposed unused enemy that he found in the files of New Super Mario Bros., in which it was this weird ghost with a big finger thing. I don't know how to explain what it looks like, but allegedly it was unused in the files. I don't know if you guys see this too, but he kind of looks like Gumbly, my favorite Simpsons character. This then led to kind of like a cool internet type community thing where people kept making art of Gumbly in different Mario style games like Super Mario 64, all of those other games, and they made art of Gumbly in the game. They're like, oh, I found him in the files here too, which is pretty cool. I like when people come together and do this type of stuff. Obviously, this unused character was never found in the files because it's a hoax, as I mentioned earlier. However, he became like kind of a cult classic type of character. And for some reason, it inspired a lot of Friday Night Funkin' mods. I'm not a big expert on Friday Night Funkin', but yeah, I guess. The only person that I've heard that actually does not like this hoax is Miyamoto, who someone asked him about the character in an interview, and he just got really upset and refused to answer the question. So, yeah, I guess he didn't like Scripulous Fingore. Sheng Long. Sheng Long is a rumored like hidden character within Capcom's Street Fighter II due to this small mistranslation within the dialogue. In one of Ryu's quotes, he says, "If you cannot overcome the Shuriken, you cannot win." And for some reason, the English translation, it said you must defeat Sheng Long to stand a chance. In the first one, it makes sense because the Shuriken is Ryu's special move. So yeah, a lot of people actually wrote to Capcom. They're like, how do I find this Sheng Long guy? So gaming magazine Electronic Gaming Monthly, who we will mention again in the future, created an April Fool's article in 1992 kind of explaining how to see Sheng Long, even though he actually wasn't in the game. This whole prank started because one of the editors, Ken Williams, his boss got Photoshop in the office and he wanted to try it out, so he was experimenting with it, and he heard this rumor before and actually liked it, so he combined a bunch of characters into one to make an art, and he showed everybody, and they were like, this is pretty good, you should make some more of this. So he made a few more pictures, and then they actually thought it was a really good idea, so they're like, hey, pitch this for an April Fool's thing. And he showed his boss, and the boss was like, let's do it. So in classic April Fool's like fashion, they made the fake way of getting this character extremely difficult and seemingly impossible. You had to beat the game using Ryu and not take any damage. And then when you fight M. Bison at the end of the game, you have to fight him 10 times, but he can't hit you and you can't hit him. And you had to wait for the timer to expire. So you can see how this gets hard. And then after the 10th time, Sheng Long comes in and throws him. And then he's like, it's time to fight, kid. And then apparently Sheng Long is like overpowered. And he has every single special attack in the game. And he's stronger and faster. So yeah. You then obviously fight to the death. And this time it has no timer. So someone has to win. The whole reason they make these things seemingly impossible in these April Fool's articles is to kind of make it obvious that it's a hoax. But in typical gamer fashion, the joke goes right over their head. A lot of people called Capcom and Electronic Gaming Monthly, and they were like, is this true? I tried it, and it didn't work. Why didn't it work? And arcade managers were actually calling this one magazine called GamePro to, because they were basically upset because everybody was trying to find this character, so they were breaking the game by putting in too many quarters because the people kept playing it over and over again. So yeah, if it wasn't obvious enough for these gamers, Electronic Gaming Monthly had to release an article in their December issue where they were like, guys, it was fake. I guess we had to tell you. I guess it wasn't obvious. It was an April article, and it was stupid. But yeah, so in 1997, they did another one. And guess if people believed it or not. So in the new game that was coming out, there was a character named Goken, I believe. And they basically said that this was Sheng Long, but just the English translation. So to hammer in this time that it was actually a joke, they started telling how to unlock the character, and they just stopped the sentence. So they said, to reach him, you will need at least 6 perfects and they just stopped the sentence there. And for the first 10 words of the articles, the first word of each letter spelled out April Fools. And this article actually fooled Capcom themselves, because the American branch of Capcom saw this article and then called their branch in Japan, like their main headquarters, and they're like, why didn't you tell us about this? Like, we should know this. This rumor actually led to him being mentioned 4 times as a character in Street Fighter the movie video game. And for the 25th anniversary of the game, Capcom actually added his character to the official website with the bio and everything. And in Street Fighter 2 re-releases, they actually added achievements with his name in it. In the World Tour mode of Street Fighter 6, he was actually added as a hidden optional boss that was really hard. And in Game Daily's top 20 Street Fighter characters list of all time, he was actually number 19, despite actually never being a playable character in the franchise. And this hoax has gone down in one of the biggest in video games history. Play as Master Hand. Master Hand is the legendary final boss of Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64, as well as some of the other Smash Bros. Games. Rumors circulated that you can actually unlock this character due to all the myriad of methods that these people that write rumors online typically do. However, it actually turns out that there is a glitch that actually lets you to play as Master Hand. There is a glitch where somebody has to be on the player 3 controller and press a bunch of different buttons. I'm not going to explain all the buttons because it's a lot to memorize. This leads to a glitch in which the player can actually play as Master Hand. However, it's kind of buggy, and you can't actually move Master Hand around. It's just when you use an attack and it moves. That's the only way you can move around. And if you win as Master Hand, the game breaks because there's no winning animation for Master Hand. The only reason that this glitch works is because Master Hand's character ID is 1A, which is the default one. And this glitch basically only works because whatever sequence of buttons you press and stuff starts the match without the player technically selecting a character, so it defaults to 1A. Eventually, Master Hand would be a kind of playable character in Smash Bros. Ultimate, but you can only play him once within the campaign. Nitrous Oxide and Crash Team Racing. Nitrous Oxide is the main antagonist of Crash Team Racing, and he is actually not a playable character, but you race against him in different levels. Obviously, people were like, hey, you know what? There's probably a secret way to play as this Nitrous Oxide fella. And there wasn't. However, people found different cheat codes to glitch the game to play as him, and it turned out to be really buggy, and the game would crash most of the time when you're playing as this character, so it really didn't work. And the developers would comment on this, saying it was basically a glitch and they had no intention of actually letting people play as him. However, in the remake Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, they had him as a playable character. Golden Warthog. In 2004 Halos 2, there are multiple billboards around several parts of the maps with a yellow Warthog vehicle that people just thought maybe you can unlock this somehow. There's a bunch of different methods that people brought up and speculated about. However, they couldn't actually play with a golden Warthog because there's just no code for you to play as it. So, Marty the Thwomp. Marty is a green Thwomp. He is a very lonely Thwomp, and he is imprisoned on the Bowser's Castle map in the Nintendo 64 version of the game. Rumors thought that because he was caged and he was different than other Thwomps, people thought that you can actually like race as him, and people actually made like YouTube video hoaxes on them playing as him. And in these hoaxes, they were able to easily like have his name on the character list because there's a lot of similar letters in Marty and Mario, so they just kind of copy and pasted the different letters from Mario and just put it there. And however, there's just no code once again of him being in the character files. And sorry to burst anybody's bubble, but he's not actually green. It's just the light in the area that he's in that makes him look green. So if he were to leave that area, he would just be a normal Thwomp. Nothing special about him. He's just locked up in fake green. Sorry, Marty. The Berserk Curse / Evil Otto has killed real people. So this is probably one of the darkest. I wouldn't say... Yeah, but it's probably the darkest. It left to real life deaths. That's what we're talking about here. So if you don't know what Berserk is, it's a arcade game from 1980. That's like a multi-directional shooter, and which most arcade games kind of were back in the day. And Evil Otto is a reoccurring enemy within the game. He's just like a little smiley face. He looks like a good guy, but he's not. He cursed people and killed people. The whole rumor of this game being cursed and this character killing people in real life came because he was allegedly responsible for the deaths of 3 people, 2 of which had heart attacks after playing the game, and 1 of which was brutally stabbed after playing the game. And the thing that makes this all kind of weird to me is that this all happened at the same arcade. We are talking about Friar Tuck's Game Center in Calumet City, Illinois. I'm going to go through 3 of these deaths. I'm not going to say alleged because people actually died. I'm just going to explain how and the circumstances to let you decide if it's cursed or not, or just other factors. So the first person that was reported to pass away was Peter Bukowski, who was an 18-year-old guy that lived in South Holland, Illinois. April 3rd, 1982 was a abnormally snowy Saturday. There was actually a blizzard in the area, and Peter walked to his girlfriend's house to hang out there for a bit, and then he started a 4-mile trek through the snow to go to the arcade. Though walking through the snow is a very strenuous activity, Peter was a average 18-year-old. He was fit, he was healthy, he had no underlying health conditions that anybody knew of. However, before he reached the arcade at 8 p.m., he was walking with his friend and he felt really out of breath and thirsty, so they stopped at a convenience store where he got a soda and chugged it. When he arrived, people noted that he didn't look well at all. However, he wanted to play Berserk because it was his favorite game, and he played it about 2 times in about 15 to 20 minutes. Both times he got the high score of that arcade machine, and the second time he got the high score, he put in his initials, took a couple steps back, and then collapsed. He was soon brought to the hospital, but he was pronounced dead by the time he got there. Many rumors spread that Evil Otto cursed him and killed him. However, he had ARVC, which I'm not going to try to pronounce, it's a big word, which is a very, very rare heart condition that takes the lives of young people. This was probably one of the rarest heart conditions someone can get, and it basically causes a lot of scar tissue to form on someone's heart. What most people believed happened was the combination of this 4-mile walk through the snow that was really tough, the caffeine from the soda that he chugged, and the excitement of playing the game was just too much for his heart to handle. A few months later, his death was talked about in a video game magazine, and to capitalize on the hype of this story, a magazine called Video Ace, which only had 2 ever issues published in 1981, featured a similar story about a man named Jeff Daly. The story basically alleged that a man named Jeff Daly, who was 19 years old, played the game for hours straight and amassed a score of 16,660, which has 666 in it, which is the devil's number or whatever, the beast number or whatever that people call it. And this cursed him and he died. Now, if you look at if you know anything about Berserk, which I didn't before researching this, there's a lot of holes in this story. And it is kind of a sucky story to make up as well. In reality, Jeff Daly was a real person who died. It actually turns out he died in a car crash on May 29th of 1981, and he had no connection with the game. So basically, they found this death of a random person, an unfortunate death of that, and tried to capitalize on the hype of another man's death. And, they did a kind of tasteless article, which serves them right because they went out of business. So that sucks for them. And the other thing about this story that was just dumb is there's an interview with an actual like professional of this game, and he was like, yeah, any decent player could get a score of 16K within like 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes tops. It's not that hard of a score, so him playing for hours just to get that score, it doesn't make any sense, basically. Finally, Edward Clark Jr., a 17-year-old kid, entered Friar Tuck's game room on March 20th, 1988 with some of his friends. Clark was known to be a bit of a troublemaker, and when he entered the arcade with his friends, they played a bunch of games such as Battlezone, and then they went to go play Berserk, and he found a couple quarters lined up on the glass, and he looked around. There was nobody there, so it didn't seem like it was anybody's quarters, so he just started playing the game with those quarters. However, a 16-year-old named Pedro Roberts claimed ownership of those quarters and demanded that he give it back, and a lot of these reports that I looked at claim that this was actually a lie. He just wanted the quarters. Clark refused, and Roberts, who was known to be a much bigger troublemaker and someone who got angered very quickly, threatened Clark and started a fight with some of Clark's friends. This caused Clark to stop playing the game and defend his friends, and some witnesses say that Roberts threatened him with a knife, but this wasn't proven in court. So Tom Blankley, he was the owner of the arcade. He reported that there was bad blood between the two even before this night, with Clark allegedly stealing Roberts' girlfriend at one point. He kicked both parties out. He made Roberts walk away one way, made Clark wait 10 minutes, and then he was like, okay, you walk the other way. We don't want any trouble. And Clark, being, the rebellious teenager he was, he walked towards Roberts, and while he was walking, Roberts ran from a alleyway and stabbed Clark in the chest and ran away. At first, Clark didn't want to go to the hospital because he didn't think it was a serious injury or anything, but he soon collapsed because he was actually stabbed in the heart, and his friends tried to get him in a car and drive him to the hospital, but he died on the way there. Pedro Roberts was tried and convicted in May of 1990 after spending about 2 years in jail pending his trial, and he was only sentenced to 11 years. The only reason he only got 11 years is because he made a plea deal, and because of this plea deal, the court ruled that he killed him in self-defense, and he was eligible for parole only 3 years into his sentence. All bonds cheat. 1997's GoldenEye is a legendary first-person shooter game that revolutionized the genre with its split-screen gameplay. The Bond that stars in this game is Pierce Brosnan, who starred in the film of the same name. And in yet another April Fool's article, Electronic Gaming Monthly posted an article that claimed that you can get the other bonds called the All Bonds or 4 Bonds cheat, which allowed people to unlock Sean Connery, George Lazenby, Roger Moore, and Timothy Dalton versions of the character. Once again, there was a very hard method of achieving this, and players actually thought it was real. However, in 2020, Rareware employees, the company that made the game, actually said that they were planning on adding some of these other bonds into the game, but scrapped it for release. But the unused models and textures of these characters were actually found within the files, so people have made mods so that you could play as these other bonds. Pikachu hates Sony. This entry refers to Hey You Pikachu, which is a 1998 game released on the Nintendo 64. This is a game where it's just like Pikachu's your little pet, and you care for Pikachu and play with Pikachu. And it has an interesting feature where the the console's microphone picks up certain words that you say, and there's like about 200 words within the game's library that get a different range of emotions from Pikachu. So the rumor is if you say PlayStation or Sony, Pikachu gets mad. So that's like Nintendo's way of saying that they don't like Sony because like the PlayStation was the rival to the Nintendo 64 at the time. However, in the files, you can see the words that are in this library, and neither of those are in it. So it's just generally believed that if he actually does get mad at these words, it's just because they're similar to different words that are actually in the library. I don't know. I do like the idea of a biased Pikachu. Gives him some character, you know. Shadow Balloon Boy. Another Five Nights at Freddy's hoax from a YouTube video. Shadow Balloon Boy was a rumored character to be hidden within Five Nights at Freddy's 2. A YouTube video in 2015 showed the character pop up, and it's just basically Balloon Boy, but pitch black with like white glowing eyes and mouth, basically. However, this was just proven to be a hoax because it's just not in the game, and I also don't like this entry because when I was looking at I was looking at a website where I was getting information from, and someone was like, "Do you have the original video?" And they put the YouTube link, and I got rickrolled. I'm quitting YouTube. It's Balloon Boy's fault. Purple Yoshi and Yoshi's Story. In the opening cutscene of 1997's Yoshi's Story, there is a bunch of Yoshis that are just kind of chilling. And most notably, there is a purple Yoshi and a brown Yoshi, which are two characters that you can't actually play as in the game. So people speculated that like you could specifically find a way to unlock purple Yoshi. This was also heightened because in the gameplay footage before the game was released, they showed people playing as purple and brown Yoshi as well. However, it was all speculation. People came up with all these different ideas. However, it just never was true. Gary Smith in Bully is a Werewolf. Bully is a 2006 open world story game. Just you're in a school. There's bullies and stuff. This entry is basically that Gary Smith, the main antagonist of the game, is secretly a werewolf, and this would be because he has a scar that is very similar to the scar on the werewolf mask that Trevor wears on Halloween and that Jimmy can also acquire later. And the existence of werewolves is perpetuated in this game because there are like x-rays that you can find near these alien photos that was like a human-like skull on the spine that people believe is a werewolf. However, if you think about like how people transform into werewolves, this little x-ray doesn't make sense because the skull would look more like a wolf's skull rather than a human's. And there are also a lot of howling that you can hear in the woods, but this can easily be because the game is in the New England area, so people have dogs, and coyotes are common in the area as well. So it's just, that's probably what it is, but who knows? I haven't played the game. I wouldn't know. Yeah, if you are enjoying the video so far and new to the channel, subscribe, like, and comment helps boost everything. So yeah, thank you. Dark Souls Pendant. The pendant is one of the 8 special items that you can choose as a gift when you start the game in 2011's Dark Souls. The most obvious choice of these gifts is the Master Key because you can like unlock a bunch of doors in the game, which is just generally helpful. However, the game's director I'm gonna probably mispronounce this, Hidetaka Miyazaki. He stated in an interview like right after the game released, and he was like, "People should choose the pendant." Which didn't make a lot of sense because you can unlock the pendant later in the game, and the pendant really only serves a purpose of trading for a different item with the character. This basically led to players speculating, like, if you choose as your starting item, something secret might happen, like a secret level, secret ending, secret boss, something like that. However, Miyazaki, he just confessed to IGN a year later in 2012 that he was like, "Yeah, I'm joking. Islamic chanting in Ocarina of Time's Fire Temple. In the early versions of 1998's Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, there is a level called the Fire Temple, which background music had some chanting that people soon realized was Islamic chanting. It was removed in the later versions and replaced with just a similar song, just without the chanting, allegedly due to uproar from the Islamic community. And this specific chant was also included in the Nintendo versions of Cruisin' World and the Egypt map, and the 2002 Xbox fighting game Kakatu Chojin Back Alley Brutal. Oh, Back Alley Brawl. I just typed that wrong. But yeah, that game is also pulled from stores after its release for religious controversy because of this. So, however, a publication called Pop Fiction emailed Nintendo, and their customer service actually reached back out and said that the people that worked on the soundtrack just found this chanting, and they didn't know it was Islamic, and they just found it on a public domain, so they thought it sounded cool and put it on there. So they had no intentions of doing this, and they said that there was no actual outcry from the Islamic community. It violated Nintendo's policy of just not adding real-life religious elements to their games, which makes sense, I guess. But yeah, Mr. Mix. So this is a creepypasta, and rather than me kind of explaining it, it's kind of short, so I'm just gonna read the whole thing and not really add any input. Before I do, people have made like fan versions of this game if you ever want to check it out. But yeah, if you don't want to hear this whole creepypasta, just skip to the next timestamp. Like, you can use the little bar, it tells you where, so I'm just gonna read it. Does anybody remember an old PC game from the early 1990s called Mr. Mix? It's mainly a typing game similar to Mario Teaches Typing. where you have to type words into a box to make a chef, the titular Mr. Mix, put ingredients into a bowl. Unlike most typing games, however, this game is notorious for having an insane difficulty curve. The game has a words per minute requirement for each level, being as low as 10 on level 1 and as high as 85 on the third. By level 5, the requirement reaches over 500, effectively making it impossible to proceed any farther. One of the main things that people noticed about this game immediately was the background music. The music on the first level was an unsettling pattern of growls that progressively got louder as the level went on, often causing damage to early computer speakers that were not designed to handle extremely high volumes of sound. The second level had no music at all, and the third had what sounded like extremely low quality recordings of a hairdryer playing in the background. The remaining 2 levels had an extremely loud high-pitched ringing throughout the level that caused severe eardrum damage to those who managed to get that far. Another rather disturbing aspect of the game was the design of Mr. Mix himself. He was a large, round-faced, overweight man with large beady eyes and red spots on his cheeks. Most children who played the game reported having vivid nightmares of Mr. Mix speaking to them in a quiet, raspy voice and threatening them to keep quiet about something. However, none of them could remember exactly what that was. One psychologist who saw many of these children reported being disturbed by the sheer amount of terror on the faces of the children as they recounted the details of the nightmare. Many of the children broke down into tears in the process, begging for their parents to save them. However, no direct relationship to the game itself could be determined by these few cases, as not all children suffered the same adverse effects. For obvious reasons, the game did not sell very well. It remained in relative obscurity until about a few years ago, when PC hackers got hold of a ROM of the game and started digging through it. Using memory hacking software, they managed to crack the game's code and bypass the impossible 5th level. What they found, however, was extremely disturbing and caused many of them to quit the expedition altogether. According to reports these hackers left behind, the game behaves very strangely if the 5th level is bypassed. The game crashes violently and closes, writing a bunch of files to the user's System32 directory to the point that the RAM was completely almost filled. These files are reportedly pictures of people with horribly deformed faces, appearing to scream in pain and agony, with their eyes appearing to be bleeding from their tear ducts and their outer layer of skin torn clean off in multiple places. If the user attempts to delete these files, the computer will violently crash and blue screen, causing permanent, irreparable damage to the user's hard drive. The hackers found that this was caused by a lone byte in the game's ROM that triggered when the 5th level was completed. After removing this byte, they were able to proceed to the 6th and final level. Unfortunately, all of the original hackers declined to discuss what they saw in this final level. All of them become extremely paranoid and reclusive, refusing to talk about anything related to the game, and showing astonishingly extreme symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Most of them ceased to be able to form coherent sentences within a week, and within a month, all of them went missing. All remaining copies of the game were destroyed. To this day, no one knows what was in that game that caused them so much psychological damage. And maybe it's better that way. 2 years after this incident, a man was arrested after trying to kidnap an 8-year-old girl from a grocery store. Through DNA and fingerprint analysis, the man was identified as one of the original hackers who viewed the final level of this game. He was wearing a white chef's hat and had a look of unspeakable malice and insanity on his face. When interrogated, the man would only say one thing: "I'm Mr. Mix. Shh." So that was an okay creepypasta. I actually enjoy creepypastas though. If you guys would want, I'd be interested in doing, covering more creepypastas or, creating a channel where I read creepypastas. I just don't know if you guys would be interested in that, so if you guys are, leave me a comment, and if you guys are for some reason just very against that, leave me a comment telling me that too, so, yeah, moving on. Lost Nero Family. This entry refers to a hidden Easter egg / mission in 2000's Final Fantasy IX that actually wasn't discovered for 13 whole years, which is just wild to me. A game FAQ user named The Kusabi posted a thread describing how to find this Easter egg, which he found the steps to within the Japanese guide of the game. At the beginning of Disc 4, after this cutscene between Nero and Nero, 2 members of the Nero family, the player must travel to Memoria until they encounter a cutscene or a boss. After this cutscene or boss, you go to the Nero hideout where a cutscene happens in which you talk to one of the members of this family. Every time you do this, it triggers a new cutscene with a new family member, and returning to Lindblum 9 times will reward you with a special item, and this quest can only be done once, as you can only get these special cutscenes, I believe, 17 times. Because there's 9 total family members, and obviously you can only do it 8 other times, so you can't reach that 9th, so you can't get that special mission again. But it's really actually interesting to me that something like that can go unheard of for 13 years. Luna Game. This entry refers to a series of creepypasta games that was first posted on Equestria Daily in April of 2011. Luna Game was a sort of creepy My Little Pony game in which the player plays as Luna on some sort of like simple platform level, but after 20 seconds of playing, or a little bit more than 20 seconds if you just stand still, the screen cuts to a creepy image. There's 2 different options of what this image would be. However, the screen is stuck there, and if you try to Alt F4 or click escape, it doesn't work. So the only way to get out of it is by Control Alt deleting and pulling up the task manager and using like the arrow keys and stuff to get out of the game. Or you just wait and the game will like eventually just close itself. After the game closes, wherever the game is saved, you see a bunch of PNG images of that creepy image everywhere where it's saved, and a bunch of text documents that say the end is nay. Get it? Because they're horses and they go, or they're ponies. Sorry, they're ponies and they say nay. Get it? So this kind of was annoying if you had the game on your desktop. So like, instead of it being in a file somewhere, it's just scattered all over your desktop, you have to delete it. So this could be its whole own video because there is a bunch of other games. There's 2 through 4 that they made, Luna 0, and then Luna 5, or The End, which were all created, and they all have its own creepy thing with a storyline and all that. But if you are interested, let me know. I might make a video on it. I don't know if you guys would be interested in brony content. I'm not a brony myself, but it seems interesting. It's a creepypasta thing. And but yeah, if you guys don't, I will leave a link to this website that the creator made where they explained why they made it and kind of like the background of it as well. So yeah. Godslayer Bowser. Before the 2021 release of Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser Fury, a rumor/joke was spread on Twitter by a user named Matt McMuscles, who stated that the Japanese translation of Fury Bowser was Godslayer Bowser. This is untrue because the Japanese website of the game confirmed that it was actually called Fury Koopa, which is the translation because Koopa is just basically what they call Bowser in Japan. Time limit in Luigi's Mansion. When 2001's Luigi's Mansion was released, there was a rumor that the player only had 24 hours to beat the game, or else it would start over, basically. This is untrue because there is just no evidence of a timer being in the game. However, most people think that this is because the American commercial of the game stated that Luigi had 1 night to save Mario.
You've got 1 night to save Mario from the supernatural.
This was only talking about 1 night in the game and not in real life, so people took that quite seriously. And in E3 2001, they had a demo of the game in which people that played it can only play for 1 minute and 30, so there was a timer on the screen. So people might have thought that that was in the game, but that was just to kind of speed people along instead. They can only play for that long, so. Hidden Citadel and GoldenEye 007. This entry refers to a incomplete unused stage in the GoldenEye 007 game that we mentioned earlier. When people found this hidden level within the memory of the game, people speculated on what it could have been for. People believe that it was supposed to be a level that was replaced by a different level called Cradle. However, they ultimately went with Cradle because it just made more sense for the storyline and it stayed true to the storyline of the movie. However, it's speculated that the enemies and boss would have been the same. And there's a small minority that just believe that it was a test area for testing the movements of like players and bots and stuff like that. But most people just go with the scrapped level idea though. Test Zero fight in Final Fantasy VII. In 1997's Final Fantasy VII, there is an enemy with a weird name that I'm just going to put up on the screen. People just call it Test Zero though because it's actually legible. And it's just a test enemy found within the game's data. It can be found and fought with hacking, but in the early Japanese version of the game, you can actually discover it by climbing to a bottom of the well in Coral Prison. When you find them at the bottom of this well, they don't actually fight back, but they have a lot of health and stuff, so it's just kind of hard to kill them. I think you get a lot of XP, though. I didn't write this down in my notes, but I remember saying something about that. And in the original PC version of the game, they can also be found by switching the disc out at the beginning of a fight, and when you start the game back up, you fight these Test O creatures. And on top of them taking a long time to kill, they also beg the user to stop and say, that hurts and stuff, which is kind of sad. But yeah, the general consensus is that these Test Zero or Test O characters, whatever you want to call them, were added to the game for debugging purposes and either left in the code on accident or just as an Easter egg.
Team Fortress 2 10th class.
In 2007's Team Fortress 2, there have always been 9 classes. However, people have always just speculated that at some point they'll add 10. And the most popular theory is that it would be the civilian character from the original game. In a 2009 interview with Escapist magazine, co-creator Robin Walker said that they were always open to the idea of adding a new class. However, they like to spend more time focusing on unlockables. And when they do actually come up with an idea for a class, it seems more of a subclass rather than a whole entire different class. So they usually just change these character ideas into further unlockables. So Far Cry 5 Static Torture Station. This entry refers to an Easter egg in 2018's Far Cry 5, in which a player heard this strange radio station when driving around long enough within the northern part of Hope County. This radio station is just pretty much static with muffled moans and screams, and you can hear the occasional flurry of gunshots and the word emergency. Ubisoft hasn't explained the reasoning behind this Easter egg, so it just leads to a lot of speculation in the community. Reviving General Leo in Final Fantasy VI. There is a glitch in why was I looking at my ring lights of the camera? Oh yeah, there's a glitch in 1994's Final Fantasy VI in which General Leo can actually be revived after he passes away in the game. I don't know why I said passing away, like I was trying to be respectful, but yeah. There's a airship glitch in which you sequence glitch the game by allowing you to get in this ship before you're actually supposed to be able to. This is a lengthy process that I'm not going to talk about, but I'm actually interested in playing the Final Fantasy series because they sound interesting. So yeah, that could be a stream game. Kekcroc. Good old 4chan. This entry refers to a 4chan meme or hoax about a 1993 supposed lost game for the Sega Genesis. It was posted to the 4chan V board in June of 2016 and became kind of a popular reaction image / meme. Basically because it has Kek in the title, people were like, oh, this is awesome. We 4chaners love this. So basically a lot of Anons went along with the joke and said that they played it and it was kind of a crappy game with shaky animation and stuff. And someone created a soundbite of Kekcroc saying, "Hi, I'm Kekcroc."
Hi, I'm Kekcroc.
So, where's that? And it's now mostly popular on the S4S board on 4chan. I'm not really familiar with these boards mean yet. I'm assuming with what my channel talks about, I'm going to become familiar with 4chan in the future, which I don't know if that's a good thing. Definitely won't be for my mental health, but it is what it is. Kirby Red Diamond. This entry refers to a bootleg Game Boy Advance game called Kirby Red Diamond that surfaced in 2004-ish, which was basically a Pocket NES conversion of 1993's Kirby Adventure. You could only find this game in online auctions. However, whenever somebody would question the seller about the game, they would just take it down and not answer anybody's question, which kind of fueled some mystery behind it, and not a lot of information is given about the game. So people asked Nintendo of American employees about it, and they basically just said it was a knockoff game. Other than a somewhat different intro of the game, which includes the title of the game, it's basically the same as Kirby's Adventure. However, you can't save the game, which is stupid. But yeah, the case also contains stolen art from Kirby and the Amazing Mirror and Kirby Air Ride. And the description is basically a copy-paste of Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. So, Mortal Kombat SNES Blood Code. I couldn't really find a lot of info on this, but what I believe is there was rumored to be a cheat code that replaced the sweat in the SNES version of Mortal Kombat 1 to blood. This is because when Nintendo put this game on the SNES, they didn't like the violence, so they replaced the blood with sweat, and they changed a lot of the violent animations. So people just thought hey, maybe there's a way to get blood, but there's not. I actually believe there's 2 versions out there called Nitro or something, I remember reading, but Yeah, there's only 2 versions out there with blood, so for the general public, it's not available. Riding Yoshi in Super Mario 64. In Super Mario 64, Yoshi appears as a brief cameo when you reach 120 stars, and you just kind of talk to him for a bit. This was interesting because Yoshi was in the game and Luigi wasn't. However, this is mostly chalked up to Mario kind of becoming more of a single-player game in this time when, with all of the 3D versions of the game coming out, basically made the game only single-player, so like they didn't have any use for Luigi, which kind of sucks, you know. But so yeah, Yoshi was becoming more of the sidekick since you could ride Yoshi in most of these games. So people believe like in other games when you could ride Yoshi, so like you'd be able to ride him in this, but it's not true. However, there was an unused Yoshi egg with the bouncing animation that was found in the game's files, and Shigeru Miyamoto stated in the Japan's official Super Mario 64 guide that there was originally an event with Yoshi. We weren't satisfied with how it came out though, so we removed it. But since it would be a waste not to use that model we had made, we included him there at the end. Beating the Running Man. In The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, there is a challenge in which the player just runs against this guy named the Running Man. You can't actually beat the Running Man, but to beat the challenge, you just have to finish this race by the end of this time limit. But people really want to beat this Running Man guy. So people were trying to figure out ways, like shortcuts, speed hacks, and teleporting, but it actually always turned out that no matter what you did, the Running Man always beat you by 1 second. And this is literally only because they didn't program any dialogue in the event of him losing, so he just never loses because it's just not possible. Just they didn't make it possible. Kanye Quest 3030 Ascension. Kanye Quest is an unauthorized and unlicensed RPG released in July of 2015 that just follows Kanye West as he is transported into the year 3030, and a rapper named Lil B had taken over the world in this dystopia type of world, and he teams up with a bunch of other different rappers and to fight other rappers to try to defeat Lil B. This is a Windows PC game created by Clara Hope, also known as Phoenix. However, there is an NPC that unlocks a hidden part of the game where when you interact with this NPC, you have the option to type in something, and if you type in Ascension, you get taken to the secret section of the game. The game then tells you that the game is actually a front for something else, and this will teach you something special. There's a lot of codes that you need to crack, which prompts you to type in whatever these codes are to follow more and more codes, and then once you reach the end, they reward you by asking for your private information. People thought this was some sort of initiation tactic for a new cult called Ascensionism, or just simply an ARG. I remember watching a video on this a while ago, but I think the part where when they ask your private information, there's no way that the private information actually gets sent to anybody because the game's not connected to the internet. How it was revealed in October of 2022 that it was created by Clara Hope, who is a musician, and they just created it for their high school project. So, but yeah, there's a lot of in-depth videos online about this on YouTube, so if you are interested in this, it was actually very interesting, so yeah, I recommend you check it out. Bella Goth Mystery. Bella Goth is a character surrounded in mystery within the Sims franchise. Her first appearance in the franchise is as a wife and a mother in the playable family in Pleasantville. However, in The Sims 2, she is reported to have disappeared, and the last contact she had was with a man named Don Lothario, who attempted to start a relationship with her even though she was married, and many people speculate that he got rid of her. However, if you look through her family's memories, a lot of them say that she got abducted by aliens, which could mean that when she went to Don Lothario's house, she was looking through his telescope, and this is when aliens came and abducted her. However, a version of her can be found in Strangetown. However, she has no ties to the Goth family and has no memories, but it is confirmed to be her. This is all confirmed before the release of Sims Social, when it was confirmed that she was actually abducted by aliens and that she is looking to start anew in Little Haven. And then in Little Haven, through therapy, you can unlock her past memories. In The Sims 3, you can go to a bunch of different places in different timelines, and in Lunar Lakes, which is presumed to be in the future, it shows that she is dead in a local cemetery. However, you can actually see her in the game, and she looks nothing like she did in the original game, like I'll show you. And but it is confirmed to still be her by the Sims team. And to make things even weirder, a message in the time machine states that she became an empress on an alien planet before returning to Earth. So, finally, in Sims 4, which is an alternate timeline of the game, Bella was never abducted and just lives a normal life, which is a stark contrast to the horrors that she endures in the other timelines. And they give a bunch of other clues throughout other Easter eggs throughout the game that just mention this alien abduction and her disappearance and stuff as well. So it's a neat little storyline in the Sims universe that you can easily miss if you just don't pay attention, which is pretty cool, I think. Gman's identity. This entry isn't really anything specific, I think. It's just talking about how there are a lot of speculations about who Gman could be. One of the more popular theories is that he's Gordon Freeman from the future from the Half-Life series. And then Gman/Gordon Freeman kind of represent Valve's control of the series. Some think that he could be Cave Johnson, who is the antagonist of the Portal series, basically due to his hatred of Black Mesa, which leads to Black Mesa's destruction in the Half-Life series and the protection of Gordon Freeman. So that's going to do it for Tier 4 of the Video Games, Myths, and Urban Legends Iceberg. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you for watching, and if you have been a subscriber of mine for a while, I want to thank you for your patience. I mean, a lot's happened. I think the last time I ever uploaded was what? Let me check, actually. The last time I uploaded was July. Yeah, a lot's happened since July. So shortly after I uploaded that last video, I actually moved out of my apartment, and I lived on someone's couch the whole summer so I could continue working in the city that I'm in. So that was fun. I didn't have access to my computer, so that's at least my excuse for not uploading. Then for those 2 months I was without a home. Actually, it was 1 month without a home, actually. So a little less of an excuse. And in August, I actually finally graduated college, which is pretty cool. So I've just been working this year so far. I've been applying to law schools, which that's something I've been doing for the past month. And I haven't decided on what I'm doing just yet, but that's maybe like the next month or two. I don't know. And the day that I was planning on actually moving into the house that I'm currently living in, I actually got into a pretty big car accident. I wasn't hurt or anything, but it destroyed my car, dude. That car was done. So that kind of delayed my move-in process a bit and just kind of made that month of August kind of busy. But yeah, I don't think that much has actually happened. I think the whole reason I really haven't uploaded is just because I've been taking this time to kind of relax for once, maybe. I don't know. I'm working a 10 to 6 job, and I just get, by the time I leave the law firm, I'm just kind of tired and just want to chill, and I haven't like edited it or anything. So I guess that's kind of why I haven't been around, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, future plans. I actually have motivation now to sit down and edit. I haven't had much trouble with writing scripts and actually recording videos. It's when it gets to editing, it's just like, which is why this video has sat on my hard drive for the past 4 months. I am going to try to set some time daily after I get from work to edit. Maybe not daily, maybe every other day, depending on if I'm doing something after work or something, or I'm just exhausted. But I'm gonna try to upload somewhat consistently. I know it's a promise I've made on this channel a lot, but you know, new year, new me, new motivation, stuff like that. I'm actually excited. There's some stuff I want to make videos on, and I think it's gonna be nice. I'm probably gonna make a shorts channel, because I just don't like how shorts is in your like uploads feed, and like if you click videos or whatever. So I'm just gonna make a second channel for that, and with shorts it'll probably be like a TikTok and Instagram, stuff like that. So look out for that. I still have my Discord. I've been kind of inactive in that. I kind of pop in every once in a while, check, and I'll be more active on that obviously once I start uploading. And I do want to start streaming. I know I've talked about that. I just need to get, the legs back under this channel before I do anything like that. So maybe it'll be a couple videos, and then that's when the short channel will come. And then once I get to kind of like a groove, I might start streaming. I don't know. We'll see. Life's crazy. Things happen. Things change, you know. We'll see. But yeah, once again, Happy New Year's, everybody. Happy 2024. Happy holidays. I know I missed that. And yeah. As always, I'm Fretopia, and thank you for watching.